How's it going? I hope all is well. I'm not worth anything, actually, but I'm with Kurt Niznik, winemaker for a number of wineries here in Napa Valley, beginning of April. Hey, Kurt, we had an earlier bud break than normal. This is when the vines kind of wake up from their winter slumber and signal the beginning of the growing season. Here it is, beginning of April. What are we looking for in the vineyard right now?
Well, Stu, I think one of the things that I'm looking at pretty seriously right now is sort of progression of the vines, the bud break, kind of making sure that our vineyard managers and I am staying on top of this sort of unusually early season, just in terms of suckering, making sure spray is going to go on. And then also, just because of the timing of the year, we're out early, but we still have the potential for spring weather, which means frost.
Okay.
And that means we've probably got an 8-week frost season ahead of us, and we have to keep our eyes on that. We could end up being pretty vulnerable.
So we're going to kind of bring back two things. We're going to come back to suckering for a second, but that spring frost, what happens if temperatures dip below, 30 degrees? Well, I mean, what are we looking at? What could potentially happen?
Well, what happens is the new growth coming out of the buds that essentially we've selected through pruning to be the shoots for this year's vine growth and crop can get frost burned. They can get burned off and they die. And then the vine will eventually compensate by pushing shoots from other parts of the vine, but those won't be as fruitful. And essentially you lose crop. And you damage the vines, but you also lose your potential for the crop that you want to have for the year. So it can be a pretty serious thing for some growers. They can lose their income. Yeah.
So we're always, look, we're going to drop fruit throughout the growing season. Mm-hmm. But what Kurt was really kind of pointing out there is that, look, we set the vines up to anticipate the fruit growing from a particular area, helps us with canopy management so that we can get those best clusters coming to you. So it's why the viticulturalists and the vineyard teams are always kind of looking to the forecast to try to see if they would have to do some, potentially frost protection in the vineyard. The other piece you mentioned was suckering. What is suckering?
So when you prune a vine and you select, again, these buds that are going to be fruitful, that are going to provide the vegetative growth and the fruit for the year, the vine will have plenty of energy, and there'll be other buds on the vine that will end up pushing out. So these will come out of permanent wood on the trunk or the cordon, areas that you haven't selected. The vine has sort of selected them. And these can crowd your cluster zone and create sort of hindrance in there, a decreased spray penetration, but it can also be vine energy that's put into basically non-productive or unproductive sort of growth. You want to direct the vine's energy and its growth into those productive shoots to create the canopy over the fruit that you're going to create, and that the vine's going to create. And these suckers are going to be using energy. They're going to be producing leaves. They're going to make energy for the vine eventually, but it's going to be in a disorganized way that harms the neatness, the production of the vineyard, and your ability to control at a fine level what you want out of that crop.
Yeah. So sometimes, if this is the scion or the trunk, you might see like little growths right here, just kind of kicking out,
little buds and stuff coming out. Yeah,
and we don't need it. So you just literally, you can kind of just go and knock them off.
Yeah,
just knock them off.
Or later in the season, sometimes you wait for them to grow a bit. Again, this is the dialing in how exactly you want to manage vine growth. You can use those suckers for a little bit to bleed some of that vine's spring energy if you feel the vine's a little bit vigorous. Wait for it to push out these shoots to 18 inches, and then they'll still be soft enough that you can snap them right off at their origin and not stimulate more bud growth or have something left hanging there that can still grow.
So the moral of the story is, like, for every thing that somebody tells you, there's always I always say multiple truths, because suckers can sometimes play to your advantage if on a particular vine. If that's what you need,
you can certainly use them.
It's just there's always variables that are not always highlighted in that winemaking textbook that you've been looking at.
Indeed, and every group of 3 winemakers has 10 different opinions.
Exactly. Hey, thanks a lot. Hey, Kurt, thanks, man.
You're welcome.
All right.
Great to be with you.
Thanks.
Take care.